सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So one of the things we have been seeing, also discussed that on the Tuesday night class, that out of all of the instruments given to living beings, especially human beings, because that's the most evolved form of living beings, out of all the instruments given to them, the most useful, sophisticated, and therefore difficult, complex is the mind, the thoughts, the sukshma sharira. And so that has to be used properly with another instrument given to you, which is your own buddhi, your own judgment. And so if you look at the Gayatri mantra, the main purpose of the Gayatri mantra is that may you, Ishvara, may you help my buddhi to regulate my mind in a way which is useful to me. This is the structure. So now if you look at the manaha, it has two main segments. Look at it different ways, but one way to look at it is that it has two main segments. One is called vichara and the other one is called viveka. Vichara and viveka. So vichara means enquiry, thinking, analysis, clarity. Viveka means distinguishing between two things. Distinguishing between left and right, good and bad, true or not true, etc. So these are the two segmented instruments that we have at our disposal. So in any vichara, some viveka is necessary. Like, for example, the very unfortunate conflict that has come up between Israel and Hamas, and between Russia and Ukraine, and between India and Canada, and so on. So there, some viveka is necessary. Because even though you are doing a lot of vichara on it, what is the nature of it, what should be done, what's the history behind it, what's the future, etc. But there, viveka is necessary for you to see what the two sides are saying, what are their views, and so on. In the case of our own self, our inquiry into exactly who am I, because my knowledge is very limited. I don't know where I came from. I don't know where I'm going. What makes me happy, what doesn't make me happy, it's not clear. So there's a lot of clarity that I need, more completeness of the knowledge that I need. So in that case, our issue of viveka is a little bit more difficult. Why? Because in the case of a conflict like Israel and Hamas, both sides are visible to you. In the case of the self-inquiry, one side is not visible to you. It is you. You cannot be visible to you. Unless you look at your reflection or something like this, you are not visible. And even otherwise, the reflection only shows you sthula sharira. So you cannot see your thoughts, the inside of the thoughts, the indriyas. So it's very difficult to see all of that. So viveka is more difficult because atma and anatma viveka is more difficult. But with the help of the shastra, we can actually start the inquiry. But then this is what the main point I'm making is that viveka alone is not necessary. Viveka alone is not sufficient. Because first of all, we don't even pay any attention to Shastra, which says, hey, you are not the body, you are not the anatma, you are the atma. So we don't pay any attention. What are you talking about? I have no idea. Or even after you have understood it, even then you continue to be identified, the abhimana. So this word is an important one that we should keep in mind. In Sanskrit word called abhimana. So abhimana, I think, is a good translation called identification. What do you identify with? Well, we identify with my three bodies. That's what I identified with me. That's my abhimana. And that is really ultimately what I have to get rid of with the help of the Shastra. So in any case, I am unable to do, even though I am a viveki, at least the students of Vedanta are all vivekis. Now we understand what is at stake. But on the other hand, I'm unable to do the vichara on it that will carry me to the end. So this is where, so in some sense, one we can say we're looking at Mandukya Karika. Mandukya is the one that allows us to do viveka. It's a very short Upanishad, very important Upanishad, probably the most important Upanishad, I would say. Really, that's my view. Okay, and I think a lot of the Shastric view also. Because all the other Upanishads lead up to the final viveka that we must resort to in order to free ourselves from this samsara. And that's given in the Mandukya. So the Mandukya only has about 12 verses, not about 12 verses. And it's all about viveka. Viveka between samashti and vyashti. Viveka between the avasthatraya, the three states. Sukha dukkha, all of that is viveka. But the vichara is left up to the commentators. That's the nature of the Mandukya. So now, vichara has to be done by Bhashyakara, number one, Adi Shankara. Very grateful for him to give us the authentic vichara on this viveka. But then even that is insufficient. Then you have to have Anandagiri Tika. You have to have Mahatmas like Swami Dayanandji, Swami Akhandanandji, Swami Maheshanandji, that even further explain the vichara that is necessary for us to do in order to complete the sequence of right thinking. So this is the background. So now, so one thing I wanted to point out, this is one of the reasons I really made this time to discuss this part of it, is the following. In the Karika, I should have mentioned, I immediately jumped from Adi Shankara and Anandagiri. Karika is the one that gives us the vichara. And then based on that, with Karika, with the Shankara Bhashya, with the Tika of Anandagiri, our Mahatmas are able to build an edifice of vichara that we can now relate to. Otherwise, we are lost. The keys are not there. They open up the keys. So in doing this, one thing I wanted to point out is that the way this vichara is being done, the way we need to think about all these things is the following. One way is that you just do one portion at a time and you don't have the full view until the very end. You look at, one segment, and then you add to it in the next segment, then you add to the next segment. Kind of like what Kathopanishad does. Kathopanishad talks about, lots of, I won't go into the details of that, but it is kind of segmented that way. In the Karika, and also the treatment given by the Mahatmas, and I'm really now referring to the Mandukya Karika by Swami Akhandanandaji, because that's the one text we are following. The methodology is slightly different. And that methodology is what I would say, I was just drawing a picture of that in my own mind yesterday when I was going over the notes. It is something like concentric circles. Because I've been studying this and I can see the pattern. Concentric circles means very initially you give the whole thing. You don't give a little portion of it and slowly complete it at the end. No, you do the whole, and this is given in the Mangala Charanam itself. The Mangala Charanam, as we will see, and this is what I wanted to point out, so that pay attention to that, is given the whole thing. Then, when the discussions start, the circle enlarges, and the meaning of the enlarging circle is that there's more detail, more convincing arguments, more logic, more vichara, more fodder for vichara, and this expands. And one of the things that then I would point out is, as we will do the Mangala Charanam number 1, which we have already started, we'll continue on that, is that you will see that the entire subject matter is already summarized. And you might say, well, this I already know. And what else is there to know? You might have that feeling. I don't think you will, but I'm just cautioning you. Don't have that feeling. Because the vichara means we have to revisit it again and again with more detail, more specificity, more analysis, etc., etc. This is the methodology that is being followed. Okay, so now let us continue on where we had left up. So in the last class, if you recall, and once again I would request you to revisit the notes from the last class before you start this one. It'll be better if you could do that. Not absolutely necessary, but it'll be good. In the last class, what we saw was that when you take up a journey, you keep the lakshya in mind, where you are going in mind. Lakshya means the one where you are up, what the final goal is in mind. But you don't concentrate on that. Once you put that, we talked about we're going to Milwaukee. And so you certainly buy tickets for Milwaukee. You keep that in mind. But then now you have to concentrate on where you are now and really spend time in making sure you're not making a mistake. You're going to the right airports. You've locked up your house, all those kinds of things. So even though the goal is in your mind, your attention is here. So similarly here also, we saw in the last class and again reiterated, all the Shastra says that if you want to understand Ishvara, if you want to understand Brahman, you want to understand the designer of the whole world, the best, that's where you want to end up, because you want to understand what's going on. What's my role? What's my future? Where do I fit in? What's my destiny? All those kinds of things we need to know. But in order to do that, you're not going to start looking around the world. A lot of interesting things will come through this. You'll see that. You can't do that. So it's not like if you're going to Milwaukee, you start visualizing exactly where Milwaukee is and looking at, with some pictures or anything like that. That'll come later. You take one step at a time. Similarly here, this is where Adi Shankara starts with Jagrat Avastha. Waking state. So it is said that if you want to understand the samashti, you must understand the vyashti, the microcosmic you, Tvampada Vachya. From Tvampada Vachya, you will go to Tvampada Lakshya. But the Vachya is the starting point. You have to analyze exactly what is going on, how are you doing things, then take the next step after that. So this is the methodology. And so Adi Shankara, in his wisdom, has really given a complete tour of what needs to be done. This is the small of it's a complete concentric circle in the very first Mangala Charanam itself, and then followed by the second one, which is a prayer. This is just, we haven't even started anything. Very beautiful. So, so here now, so this is the vichara that we have to do, as I was mentioning before. Because without doing vichara, without thinking about it, I just accept things as they are. And even doing your viveka means that it's atma, anatma, viveka, and then it becomes just theoretical. It doesn't do anything for you. So you have to do a lot of vichara. What does it mean? So for example, one of the things that Mandukya does, not one of the main thing that the Mandukya does, is to give you the viveka between the waking state and the dream state. That's the viveka. Okay? So now what happens is, if you don't do vichara, You just take it, okay, yes, I dream sometime. Everybody knows. Even a child would say, I had a bad dream and it's now gone. So we accept it that there is a dream state and a waking state. But the way you look at it is completely different. Because you say, waking state is my main life. And yes, we sleep. I'm not sure why we dream, what we do, but it doesn't matter. It's gone. It doesn't make it. This is how we look at the Viveka. There's no vichara. A lot of vichara has to be done where we look at things in a way that is useful to us. Just merely saying, yes, I have a dream state is not enough. So here, Swami Akhandananda in his commentary gives us the elements of this vichara. How to do it. And the elements of this vichara are also very rudimentary because there are 4 such volumes that hopefully we'll study. And I've been reading, I'm almost done with, again, the 2nd or 3rd or 4th revision of the very first Agama Prakaranam. And at any one time, it's the same topic, but deeper and deeper vichara, to a point where our thoughts now transform themselves into very powerful vichara based on the same viveka. Now this is the structure. So anyway, going back to the Mangala Charanam. So here Swami Akhandananda says, listen. First of all, you examine your Jagrat Avastha with the help of the Viveka with Swapna Avastha, with the dream state. How? So you please now see how you dream. What happens when you have a dream? So he's just given some examples from India, and what it means is that supposing you meet let's say you meet a sadhu, a very wise person who has given, he's done vairagya to normal silly things of life, and a dharmic person, and a very wise person, and a teacher also. It doesn't have to be a Jivan Mukta, but just a normal person. So you start, this is all in the dream now. Supposing you meet somebody in the dream, and there you admire the person, and you say, Sadhuji, you must have done some very good things in your past. And so there is a kind of your thoughts are about the past that allowed the sadhu to be what the person is. And the sadhu says, yes, I'm very happy, I'm very lucky. I was born a Brahmin, I was born in a Brahmin family that was very studious. And then I gave up my engineering and I'm studying this. This is all in the dream. And then you say, well, what do you think you're doing? He says, well, I'm studying. I'm not quite there yet, but with the help of Ishvara, I'm doing a lot of puja. And maybe if I become a Jivan Mukta, well and good. Otherwise, I will go to the next life, and he will really protect me. And so this whole discussion is going on in the dream. Okay. So now, what happens is that in the dream, the key thing to note is, are these details that we just talked about, past, future, present, etc., relationships, evaluation of the person. Is all of these your thoughts or not? Yes, of course. Not only are they your thoughts, those are you. You are the one that did this kalpana. These are all kalpita vichara with some forms. Did you not? Yes, absolutely. These are all my kalpanas and very detailed kalpanas. This is the thing that we have to understand. Yes, the dream is not as clear as the waking state because the indriyas are absent, but it is still there. And I'm sure you can relate to it. I can tell. When I wake up in the morning and I just admire, my goodness, I went into a lot of details. How could I do that? And part of that is your own feelings, your own self-evaluation, not only the person that you're meeting. There's a lot going on. But this is all your own kalpana. Now we come to vichara. Having done this, we come to the Jagrata Avastha. Same thing. Similar thing. You meet some sadhu and you're very impressed by the person. And you say, how did you do this? I was born in a Brahmin family, this, that, or the other. Where are you going? What are you doing? Can you teach me? What do you think I should do? All those kinds of things are your own mind. Kalpana. The main difference is that there is a person sitting in front of you and looks very solid. You can touch him, you can shake hands, you can do namaskara to him. But even in the dream, you could have really done that. You could have felt the same thing. You could have really walked up to him and touched him and can you touch your feet? You can do all of that in the dream also. There's no difference. This one has a little bit more solidity to it. But that's about it. There's nothing, that's a very minor thing really. All the structural issues are exactly the same. So how is it not any different from that? This is the kind of vichara that we have to do. Am I just throwing the baby with the bathwater and just saying, okay, that doesn't make any difference. Dream doesn't make a difference. Or am I going to take the lessons learned from a dream experience, which really doesn't amount to anything, into the waking experience that I think amounts to something, but it doesn't. This is what we have to finally understand. That in the Jagrata Avastha also, I think this is very real. Everything is whatever my life is going through, this is it. I have to suffer through it, etc., etc. No, it's not true. It's just that you are not looking at it the right way. There is something much better which you are already the Paramatma. And in order for you to see that, you have to do vichara based on this viveka, is what I was saying. And so there we then supplement it with more logic. So this is still a very fundamental logic. So there we can say that ultimately we are undergoing experiences. So the word for experience in Sanskrit is bhoga. So in this first Mangacharanam, I'm sorry, I forgot to put my Forgot to put a page marker. Sorry, page 1. So as you know, it says Pragyana Amshu Pratanaihi. We've done this all before. Sthirachara Nikara Vyapibihi Vyapya Lokan Bhuktva Bhogan. Second line. Bhuktva Bhogan. So he says that having so now experiencing being at the mercy of things that are happening to me. This is what I am today. Isn't it? This Adi Shankara is asking, aren't you doing, can you not see that you are experiencing? Yeah, of course, yes. Look at the experience. How is that happening? So, experiencing means sukha dukkha. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not happy, sometimes I'm injurious, sometimes there are tragedies, all kinds of sukha dukkha. What are the elements of it? The elements are, first of all, there is a Annamaya kosha. So now we go into the kosha analysis, not the avastha analysis. Avastha means the place where all this is happening. So Jagrat avastha, Supshupti avastha. Then within the avasthas we have to look at koshas. Koshas means stratifications where we see their differences. So for example, there is your hand. Okay, this is from Swami Akhandananda's example. Your hand. It's very possible. So normally what you do is, supposing you want to lift your hand, what is required? First of all, the hand itself has to be there, of course, Annamaya kosha. Then you have the Shakti to lift it up. Shakti means the power of all the indriyas, all the pranas actually, all the prana. And so various pranas that help you give the Shakti. And I'll come back to it in a minute. Then the third one is your desire to lift it. If the desire is not there, the hand is not going to lift. Desire. Then you have someone that has the desire. It's called Abhimani. The one who identifies with lifting the hand is Abhimani. And then after, supposing you lift your hand, supposing somebody is giving you prasada in a temple. Then you lift your hand, you ask for the prasada, and you eat the prasada, and you are very happy. You feel blessed. So these are the various steps of your experiences. We are talking about bhoga. So now let's look at the elements of all of them. First of all, your hand. Yes, you can see it. Your hand is there. Then comes the Shakti. Shakti means the power. Supposing the pranas are defective and the nerves are injured, you cannot lift the hand. You have a complete paralysis. You can look at the hand, but it's not lifting. And so that's all very know that. So the prana is there. So there is now Annamaya kosha, which is just the outer form of the hand, which is based out of all food that you eat. But then the more subtle form that is the Shakti, which is Pranamaya Kosha. Then you have the desire to lift the hand. This is Manomaya Kosha. Then you have a person you are the person who's decided to lift the hand. This is Vijnanamaya Kosha. Finally, there is an Anandamaya Kosha, which is a sense of satisfaction for the time being. It is not total satisfaction, but partial satisfaction. So, all of them are there. Are you a sum total of these 5 things? This is the vichara. No. Then what are you? You are the one who is observing, different from the hand, the Shakti, the Ichcha, the Abhimana, and the Anandamaya. You're different from that. You are, in fact, observing all of that. You're observing your mind. You're observing your desire. You're observing that you cannot lift the hand. That happened to me the other day. It was very interesting. I had not been doing a lot of exercises because of some muscle problems, and so I'm restarting to do that. And I may have overdone it. So as a result, my thumb was just twisted like this. And I couldn't really get it to. It was a very strange thing because I thought that I'd be in complete control of moving my hands, but I couldn't. Then it became okay. And I haven't even gone to the doctor yet. I think it's going to be okay, but I don't know. So those are all possibilities. You're observing your hand. All of these things are there. So you are none of those in the case. Now let us go into... So in Jagrat Avastha, so this is what Adi Shankara is saying. Yeah, so it's interesting. Look at the second line. I'm following this, the explanation of the Mangala Charanam. Pragyana amshu pratanaihi sthirachara nikara vyapibihi vyapya lokan bhuktva bhogan sthavishtan. Sthavishtan means this is all very, very at their places. They are not moving. They're not there. You see that very clearly, your hands and so on. Punarapi dhishanos bhasitan kamajanyan. Now we change our location. So now we can go from, it's kind of like the next step that we should see. So this is kind of like a mental journey. This is what it is. You have to start with where you are. There you are going, physically going from Milwaukee, you're driving or going in a plane or something. But this is more of a mental journey. Mental journey means that you are, at this point, you and I are very involved with Jagrat Avastha. Let's take a step towards the Swapna Avastha. In the Swapna Avastha, observe what is still valid, what is not valid. What is still valid is Pranamaya Kosha is still valid. Blood is flowing, heart is beating, all things are there. Manomaya Kosha is still valid. Vijnanamaya Kosha is still valid. Anandamaya Kosha is still valid. Annamaya Kosha is dissolved. Not dissolved, but it is absent. So you don't really see your own, you have a feeling about your body, but you don't see your own body. At least it is not there in the same opaqueness that is there in the Jagrata Avastha. Then you go into the next step, which is Sushupti Avastha. In Sushupti Avastha, The pranamaya is still active because even when you are sleeping, your body has to be kept up to date. Heart still beats. Anandamaya kosha is very active because you feel very satisfied and happy, more so than even in your Jagrat avastha. But then Vijnanamaya kosha has disappeared, Manomaya kosha has disappeared, and of course Annamaya kosha continues to disappear. So observe all of that. Has your awareness disappeared? No. The observer of the dream is still there. The observer of nothingness is still there. Because as you know, one can ask, how do you know that you are there? Because of your memory that you saw nothing. So you cannot answer a question until you can relate to it. So if somebody says, how did you sleep? If you were not there, you could not say, I slept well. Well, what did you see? No, I didn't see anything, but I slept well. You could not say that if you were not there. Supposing your continuity towards Sushupti Avastha was interrupted, and somebody asks, what did you do when you were sleeping? He says, what are you asking about? I don't know. I wasn't there. You don't say that. So because you say that I had a nice sleep, or you can say, this is one of my silly jokes that I learned from someone, and my wife is tired of my repeating the same joke to everybody. So somebody says, how did you sleep? Say, I slept like a baby. Oh, really? You feel like a baby? I woke up every hour and cried. So somebody had given me this joke. So you can say that I slept well. So that means that you are the continuous observer in all three of them. We know that by now. This is nothing major thing. We'll look into this in more detail. So this is the Turiya that Mandukya talks about. The fourth one, you have the three states, and then you have a non-state which is common to all three of them. But it should be, that should release me from all dukkha, but it doesn't because of lack of vichara. So we have to do all of that. But at least the whole thing is visited in a very short circle. So now, an important point. Okay? In order to investigate Atma Swarupa, investigate ourselves, as we said earlier, you don't need to go anywhere. You just have to close your eyes or read or something and start and continue your investigation. Instead, what we do is we investigate the origin of this whole creation. Where did it come from? The thinking is that if I could understand the origin of the world, the Big Bang and this, that, or the other, somehow I will be complete and happy and knowledgeable, and that will fulfill my life. This is, you don't say that explicitly to yourself, but effectively this is what you say, isn't it? That I'm looking at the origin of the earth. You can also say, how long is the earth going to be? How long is the sun going to be? What is the end point of this? So you can investigate that, and people do. There are PhDs, multiple PhDs for all of this. They study that, and keeps the colleges going, all the money and investigation. A lot of that is really amounts to nothing, as we will see, but we do. Okay? So the question is, so this is the important point. Look at the origin of the earth. Let's concentrate on that. How are we going to find that out? How are we going to find that out? Well, I don't know, but I think we can rely on the work of a lot of scientists and piece together, and whatever theory best describes. There are new incidences, inventions, new ideas that come up, in new data that is based on that you can come up with, and so on. Okay, fine, you do all that, but let me ask you something. Is it not the thoughts of your mind, like it is in the dream, and like it is in the Jagrat Avastha? Because a lot of the time we are just thinking about, past, future, even the present. You can talk about that and so on, and you are just observe. Your thoughts are. You have thoughts about all of that. And so these are also thoughts about the future. I'm sorry, of the origin of the earth. Right? So this is also a kalpana of some kind. So what is the alternative? You say this is the kalpana, but what do you mean by non-kalpana? So because there must be a reason why you keep calling it kalpana. Yes. And that is, in order to know something, you have to experience it. So this is what is called aparoksha anubhuti. Aparoksha anubhuti means you have to directly experience it. And if you don't, then it remains as a kalpana. Anything which is paroksha is kalpana. You are thinking about it, you have some ideas about it, sometimes vague, sometimes not vague, but ideas and so on. But when you experience it, so this is what we had also gone through. This is a very beautiful example that Swami Akhandananda has given, is that if you want to see something, then the form of the thing that you are seeing and your own thoughts must become one. So until the vastu becomes aparoksha to you, you don't really experience it. You don't see it. You don't feel it. Whatever, not just seeing but through the eyes, but the reality of it is not there to you. And the reason we are saying this is the filter. This is the filter that we must use in order to understand how am I going to experience. So there it is said that listen, the origin of the world can never be experienced. So as far as you are concerned, it is just a kalpana. You can, if you want to read books on it, go ahead and do it. Waste your time. But the real inquiry must be something which can be directly experienced. And so therefore, we say that the Jagrat Avastha, you should see to be directly aparokshanubhuti. In a way, even that we will discard later. But at least in order to investigate it, you must see something that can be directly experienced. And by the same token, the dream avastha also is directly experienced. And so the direct experience, sakshat karanam, is very important for you to conclude about what is going on. So therefore we can say that investigation of the reality for yourself must be based on step-by-step anubhuti. And so looking at origins of the earth and the nature of the world and so on and so forth may seem enticing, but ultimately fail the test of what you need to do to understand yourself. And in order to understand yourself, you have to see what are my avasthas. What are all the places that I visit? How do I observe it? What are the differences? What conclusions can I make about them? All of this is vichara that I have to do. And so, one important thing as a corollary to this, very important thing, one thing to see. The Mandukya gives what is called Eka Jiva, single Jiva. It's a Eka Jiva Vada. So there are other texts, for example, even Panchadashi, they ultimately come to the right conclusions. But at least initially, they resort to Aneka Jiva Vada. Also, so now going back to Mandukya, Mandukya is given to the understanding of Eka Jiva Vada. Means there is just a single individual. Right now I feel there are multiple individuals. There's me, there's you, there's Ishvara, and so on. But that is a non-understanding. In fact, there is a single individual, which is Ishvara, which is nothing but is the Antaryami for yourself. This is one thing about Mandukya that we will explain more detail. The second aspect of that is what is called Drishti Srishtivada, as opposed to Shrishti Drishtivada. Now this we should understand. So let's look at the second one, which is called Shrishti Drishtivada. In Shrishti Drishtivada, it means you see what is already created. So there is a world that you walk into when you are born. It's already pre-existing, and you simply participate in understanding where you are in that world, isn't it? So this is what is called Srishti Drishtivada. Your drishti means your view, your vision of what you are, how you see the world is based on some existing parameters that are already in place. There is an earth, there's the sun, there's a moon already there, and you're just born into it. This is the Srishti Drishtivada, right? Completely opposite to that is what is called Drishti Srishtivada. Again, I'm bringing this up rather early in the game. I mean, there's a lot of follow-up work required to understand all of this. But again, this is exactly why my preface to this class was these concentric circles. And also I'm following really the teachings of the method of teaching by Swami Akhandananda, where he is not shy of giving you the final answer. Because you should keep that in mind already. So even though this is early in the game to talk about Drishti Srishti and Srishti Drishti and so on, but we might as well at least understand what we're going to be doing. So the opposite to the Srishti Drishtivada is the Drishti Srishtivada. What is that? It is just amazing. It's hard to even relate to it at first, but it is the truth. And this is what Mandukya is saying. This is what Karika is saying. We want to really follow the truth, whether or not it's popular and understandable. Those are different things. So what Drishti Srishtivada says is, you see the world and therefore the world is. Not what the world is and that is how you see, but whatever you see is what the world is. Remember in the last class this was hinted at by saying that the mind and the world are one and the same. Mind is the same thing as the world is the same thing as mind. There's no difference. So what this means is, you and I as a jiva, we create a drishti. And this happens life after life after life after life after life. And as we create, because of our past vasanas and karmas and so on, that is the world that I create. So in some sense, you can see this. And the Swapnavastha is a great example of that. Though, isn't it? That you create a world and you observe it and you experience it. Bhogan, Punarapi. So there in the dream of avastha it was Dishanod bhasitan kamajanyan. Bhasitan means just, Dishanod bhasitan means it is just moving. It's not stable, but it's there. Kamajanyan, based on your own mind, your own ichcha, your own volition. So the dream is a great example where the dream example is a great example of the drishti srishti vada. So look at this. I'm just observing. I'm just connecting Ekajiva vada and drishti srishti vada for the time being. So keep that in mind. It's a little early, but as I said earlier, that I'll just say that. So now look at this. You are sure that the dream is a drishti srishti vada? That one we know. It is not srishti drishti vada. It's not as though the dream was already there and then you visited it. You just designed it and you dwelled in it for a while. Now you say, okay, the dream is drishti srishti vada, but the Jagrat avastha must be srishti drishti vada because it is already there. My mom and dad were already there. That's how I was born. So it's very clear that there is a difference between them. Karika says no. Jagrat avastha is also a drishti srishti vada. My dear, you are mistaken. That also is your creation. And because it is your own creation, you can be free from it. If this was not the case, the moksha is not possible. You cannot say that the world will continue, you may disappear. You are creating another version of the dream, which looks even more fierce and elongated than the dream. But fundamentally, it is the same thing. So therefore, now we can say that because of this fact, which fact? That both the dream as well as the waking state are drishti srishti. The word vada means a viewpoint. This is what we say. So anyway, going back to it, I just wanted to explain the word vada. But because the dream and the waking state are both drishti srishti, it means you are the same person that has two views. So it's not that you are you see this? Look at this point. If you do not do vichara and only do viveka, then you feel that the dream is fundamentally different from my waking state. But if you do vichara based on what Gaudapadacharya's Karika says, then you feel that I am the same person. I alone have a dream experience and I alone have a waking experience. I'm the same person. This is the fact. Anyway, I think we can wrap up Mangala Charanam 1. Perhaps I'll go into too much detail on all that. Maybe the last line I think will come up. Anyway, so he says, so the second line we have already done. Let's look at the third line. Pitva sarvan visheshan swapiti madhurabhung mayaya bhojayan. So now this is the third line is the Sushupti Avastha. So Sushupti Avastha means, so Pitva. So Pitva is an interesting word here used. So Pitva means having experienced, being at the subject, being at the mercy of the very bhogas. Pitva, sarvan visheshan, swapiti. And you just give it all up. Both the bhogas of the Swapnavastha as well as the Jagratavastha is now given up. Madhurabhung mayaya bhojayan. So there's some specificity about the word maya. And then again, at least maya sankhya turiyam paramam amritam ajam brahma tat yat natosmi. I think we can finish it. I'll just, I think that'll be good to just complete it. So very short term. So then in Sushupti Avastha, you have the capability. So this is another very beautiful Viveka. Very beautiful Viveka. So in all the three Avasthas have a message to give. All the three avasthas. What are the three messages of, what are the messages of the three avasthas? So, certainly one common message, if you want to draw the conclusions from all of this, one common message is, you are none of those. This is the Turiya. As we saw earlier, you are the observer. This is common to all three of them. Okay? Then the message of the Swapnavastha is that what appears to be true is not. Think about that. What is an appearance? So everything that I see is an appearance. But what appears may not be true. This may be just an appearance. Like we saw in the example of the blueness of the sky. Just because the sky appears to be blue doesn't mean that it is blue. So the message of the Swapnavastha, particularly, first message is for all three of them. Then for Swapnavastha, the message is that what appears to be true may not be true. Investigate it. That's the message of the Swapnavastha. Then there is a message of the Sushupti Avastha. Very important message of the Sushupti Avastha. I remember when Swami Dayananji first pointed this out, that was a revelation to me. The Sushupti Avastha's message is, you see that I'll contrast it with the Swapnavastha message, which is what appears to be true is not true. Sushupti Avastha says, it is not necessary to experience anything in order to be happy. That is a very important message. You know, I mean, in our life, we also have this feeling that you ask somebody, how are you doing, what's happening in your life, and so on. So a person will say, well, I have a lot more to accomplish. I want to know more things. I want to do things, essentially. This is what I'm saying. And well, why do you want to do things? I want to do some non-profit work. I want to do this. Why? Why do you want to? Because I think that'll make me very happy. So this is what happens. We have a long list of things that we have to do. Every day we get up in the morning and we have a list of undone things. And so you say, well, why do you want to have all of this? Well, you know, I want to do things because that's how I will be happy. Otherwise, they're hanging on top of me. Does that happen in Sushupti? Do you ever fulfill all of your long list of undone things in sleep? And you are the happiest in sleep. So therefore, the message of the Sushupti Avastha is, you are the Ananda. You don't need to do anything, my dear. So all three of them, these are very carefully designed by Ishvara. Whatever. If you just look at it, do the vichara on this, and do all the viveka and so on, you said, my God. So essentially, you know, this is what is called Shivalingam or Atmalingam, the various lingam that we say. Atmalingaya namaha, Atmaya namaha, Atmalingaya namaha, Shivaya namaha, Shivalingaya namaha. We say that in our prayers. So these are the various hints given to us in order to understand what is going on. But we ignore it. We're too busy doing things, you know, this, that, or the other. This is what's called lingam. So these are all clues that are dropped for us to see. And then through the clues, if we connect all the dots and so on, then the vichara becomes more powerful. And then, you know, all that happens. Anyway, so this is, oh yeah, I wanted to finish the fourth line also. And I think that we won't spend much time on it, just a minute or so. So, Pitva Sarvan Visheshan Swapiti Madurabhung Mayaya Bhojayan Na Maya Sankhya Turiyam Paramam Amritam Ajam Brahma Tat Natos. Yat Tat Natosmi. So, Yat Tat Namosmi means that, hey Brahman, my namaskara to you, my own self, really. And you can even say Ishvara in that sense, the creation of Ishvara. My namaskara to you, because having experienced all these states, I still remain the same. You remain the same, and you and I both are being one, remain the same. Maya Sankhyaturiyam. Maya Sankhyaturiyam means that this is one, Ekam Advitiyam. So Ekam is means that one. One means it's a Sankhya. Sankhya means a count. So you 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, like that. But here this is one which is Advitiyam. 1 plus Swami Dayananda used to say this. 1 plus, this is a very funny logic. Here 1 plus 1 remains the same. This is Vedic logic, Vedic mathematics. 1 plus 1 does not become 2. 1 plus 1 remains the same. How? Because the second one is just an imaginary one, not a real one. And so all these states that we talk about are really nothing, because they are states. They are not the reality. So that Turiyam, that's the fourth one, is not the fourth one, but the only one. Paramam, it's beyond Paramam is a very important word. We'll go into that some other time. Amritam. And so something which is not, which doesn't have a form, cannot be, just like an Akasha cannot be killed. Ajam, never born, always been there. Brahma, of course. And so through that Brahma, my namaskara. So therefore we can say that Adi Shankara, in composing this first prayer to the Karika, completely explains everything anyway in a very small concentric circle. So with that, we'll go to the second Mangalacharanam next week, and then we will start the analysis of the Karika. So with that, let me close the class. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. There's a new name that I don't recognize. Avish Saha. So Avish, if you could just let me know, you can just send me an email introducing yourself. I'd appreciate it, to vijaykapoor@gmail.com. That'll be nice. I think everybody else I know and recognize. Akhil, I got your email, and I'm really impressed that you studied so many different commentaries on the first Mangala Charanam. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I will certainly do that. But I'm impressed that you had the time to do all of that much. That's wonderful. John, how nice to see you. You have done so much. John Varney is the person that initiated the writing of much of the commentary by Swami Dayanandji, and then it was taken up by others. And he is a very devoted devotee of Swami Dayanandji. You all, I think many of you may know him. He lives here in the north of San Francisco, and very nice to have him as part of this class. Thank you, John. He's a photographer. He has wonderful photographs of all the Swamis and so many others. So very nice to see you, John. All right, if there's no other classes. I have no other questions about the class. Then I would take your leave. John says, in your first class, CC gave Mandukya as Mandu. Oh. All right. Great. We'll see you next week. Hari Om.